Let's see. I think we're good for part 2.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Mary Elizabeth's Friday Hour.
Thanks for having me back, Mary Elizabeth. Let me tell you something. I am, we got to put more variety in our hour.
Yeah.
We got to have dancing. We should have an orchestra, a band.
Yeah.
Uh, when you were a kid, I guess you watched all those variety shows when you were a kid.
Oh, yeah.
My favorites were, I had 2 favorites that I always wanted to watch, but they were on too late and they never had reruns. And one was called the Dean Martin Show,
Oh, yeah.
and the other one was the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. And I thought both those shows were so cool. But when the summertime, Mom would always say, "Well, they're on at 10 o'clock. You can watch them, in the summertime. You can stay up late and watch them when you don't have to go to school the next day." And they didn't have reruns. In fact, not only did they not have reruns, something like 20, 30 years later, they sold the videotapes of them because they knew they were only shown one time. They would have when the reruns when it came during the summertime, they would have something like Glenn Campbell or the Gold Diggers or do their own summer series. One show I remember was from England. That Dean Martin had the Gold Diggers, and Marty Feldman was on that show, and I'd never seen Marty Feldman before. He was so funny. Um, but you remember the Carol Burnett show, of course. That was
yes.
that was probably the best
I
one.
used to watch that.
Yeah, but there was almost every entertainer had a show, had a variety show. Bobby Darin had a variety show that I just recently bought the DVDs for. They were so good. Maybe I should talk about them on a different show. But I just loved those variety shows. Those they would always have these wild colors, as you saw on my color television, that is. But even then, they would always have the host would come out and tell jokes, and then they have skits, and then they'd have. And what was weird was I found a lot of this music on those shows kind of boring.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the comedy. Laugh It, if you notice, had no singers on it. They wouldn't stop for singers. If they had a song, it'd be a funny song. So, and I, when you're a kid, you have no patience. You're always fidgeting around and everything.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was I remember looking at the clock once. It was like 9:30, and then when the song was over, you know what time it was? 9:35. I said, "You mean that was only 5 minutes? It seemed like 20 minutes." The Julie Andrews show. Now I would probably like those shows. I think I told you I saw Bernadette Peters, and when she came to the Altria Theater of Mosque, actually, and she sang with the Richmond Symphony, and she sang all these songs from her shows, like Into the Woods and shows like that, in Company. And what was weird was when I saw the show, I was kind of bored with those songs because I didn't know those songs. Now, because of the theater and all the musicals I've been in, I know all those songs. I probably would have liked to see that show again. Because now, I love that song. Oh, I love this song. I love this song.
Actually, speaking of Bernadette Peters,
Yeah.
On Instagram they had like a little clip of her when she was a little girl.
That's right. She was on a show. She's on a game, like a show with kids being interviewed about current events, and and you could tell it's her. Her name is not Bernadette Peters. It's her real name. I don't know what her real name is, but she's Italian. She's from New York, and she has an Italian name. She's like she was like Lady Gaga before there was a Lady Gaga. Although Lady Gaga never hid the fact that she's Italian. So yeah, Bernadette Peters is something else. Oh, she's like the best, Bernadette Peters. And I used to love those variety shows and everything. I was let me tell you what on Tubi, you could find, and of course YouTube, of course, but on Tubi, look and try to find some of those old time 1960s variety shows. Some of them are wild. There's ones with Milton Berle, the Milton Berle show. There's Red Skelton had a show, and that's actually what when you look back on it, that's what they're most famous for. Probably their variety shows. I remember you ever hear of Ernie Kovacs? Yeah, he was this comedian, and he has a variety show. That is so good. He was this innovative guy with comedy in the 1950s, and sadly he died, I think, in 1962 in a car accident. He had a famous wife, Edie Adams, and but he has a show. Check it out on Tubi. It's called Take a Good Look, and it's sort of like What's My Line, but he's the host, and he's so good, and he gives clues. In little skits, he does clues, and the panel has to guess what the who that person is, from the clues that Ernie gives. It's and he's this really cool guy. He has a mustache and a cigar, and he's really sharp and he's really funny. There's a movie about Ernie Kovacs. Check it out, The Day the Laughter Died or something, and it had Jeff Goldblum playing him. And the point of this movie was that while he was doing these shows, he had a first wife who kidnapped his kids from him.
Oh, wow.
And he spent like 2 years looking for his kids. So while he was trying to be a funny man on television, he had this going on in his real life. As soon as he would leave New York, he would go to, I think she was living in Florida, but she kept, once they got anywhere close, and I think at the end he finally gets reunited with his kids. But it was sad reuniting because he died soon after suddenly of a car accident. Ernie Kovacs was supposed to be in the movie It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and he was replaced by Sid Caesar.
Oh, yeah.
So just imagine that part played by Ernie Kovacs. Edie Adams, of course, plays Sid Caesar's wife, and Edie Adams was his wife in real life, his second wife.
Sid Caesar was really funny.
Oh, he was so funny. Yeah, they were all. Oh, Sid Caesar had a funny show, Your Show of Shows. That was a very funny show.
Yeah.
And every once in a while somebody tries to bring back the variety show. I think Dolly Parton tried to, but I guess the closest thing we have to variety shows now are like Saturday Night Live, because they have musical guests and they have comedians and they have skits. The late night talk shows, to some extent, Jimmy Fallon is trying to be as much like those type of shows as possible, singing and little skits and everything, and also interviews. Maybe our next venture after we do this show is hire an orchestra and dancers and costumes. And sometimes even after so many years, some of these were done long before I was born. You see these things on YouTube or on Tubi, and they're just so great. The Jackie Gleason show was very good, and they're all good. I mean, there's always something good about a variety. I think that's the whole point. That's why you named it the Variety Hour. I take it because there's beware, hold tight for something new.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I guess if we ever had a variety show, it would be a really good first guest,
What?
Beyonce.
Oh, yeah.
I think Beyonce would be on our show.
Yeah. Beyonce's a little bit overrated.
Overrated, really?
Yeah, because everybody raves about Beyonce.
Well, I'm always given criticism that I don't talk enough about modern performers.
Yeah.
I always talk about the good old days.
Yeah.
I always talk about the Three Stooges and Buster Keaton, Wallace Beery.
Yeah.
But Beyonce, but I got to tell you something. Somebody actually made a point recently about Beyonce. She's never had a big hit song that people, as a theme song. People know her from Destiny's Child, I think.
Yeah.
She had that song about the ladies.
Yeah.
What was that called?
Sing all the single ladies.
All the Single Ladies. That's the closest thing, but she was with a band. She was with another group with that. When she did that.
And then she made a solo album after.
Yeah. Well, she was in Dreamgirls, and she was actually a star as an actress. You see her and stuff, and she was in Dreamgirls, and she's pretty good in those things. She was in the Austin Powers, one of the Austin Powers movies and stuff. So Beyonce, of course, I know her mainly from the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah.
That's how I know anybody. That's how. But I do keep up with that type of thing. And I think you were telling me you liked the movie Steel Magnolias. Tell us about that.
And well, a lot of people, some people say that Dolly Parton could act.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she was really an actress or not. I know she's played on other things, but I heard that.
The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. She's in 9 to 5.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
She's in that Rhinestone with Sylvester Stallone. I remember a movie version of the Rhinestone Cowboy song.
Yeah, but other people, but some people say that she couldn't act or something.
Well, I tell you that thing about Dolly Parton, with the exception of the Best Little Outhouse in Texas. In that movie, she tends to play Dolly Parton in every part, and nobody plays Dolly Parton better than Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Same with, but that's the problem with a lot of these singers. Even if they're good actors, they're bigger than life, and thus when they try to play like housewives or guys working on driving a truck or something, they don't see, like even Elvis. When I mean, as good as he was, actually a pretty good actor, Elvis. But you never really lost track of the fact you're watching Elvis, and he'd be like a busboy in a restaurant, and some guy would mouth off to him, some guy with an ascot or a big cigar, and he goes, "Hey, hey, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't know what I'm doing." And then he starts singing a song. To the point where every time I see Elvis in a movie, I have to stop what I'm doing and watch. Mick Jagger has acted, and David Bowie has acted.
Cher has acted.
Well, Cher actually has had some acclaim. She actually took a couple of years off from performing as a singer to do movies. She won an Oscar for Moonstruck, and she is a good actress, obviously, but I think she never really caught on. And a lot of people, I think, she made a film called Mask, which actually is very good. But the director and her had a lot of problems, Peter Bogdanovich, and that kind of she doesn't make that many movies anymore. Once in a while, she makes a movie, but for the most part, she's a Las Vegas entertainer. She's gone because that's what the people want to see her in, so that's what she does.
Yeah.
Cher, and Beyonce, they all try. The only person who doesn't seem to try it at all is Bruce Springsteen. And Bruce Springsteen has won an Oscar for.
Madonna's been an actress too.
Well, Madonna has tried to be an actress. She's never really caught on as a except for her first movie, Desperate Secret Susan. She's had small parts in other movies that were all right, but when she headlined the movie like Who's That Girl, that didn't seem to work out for her. So what happened was Bruce Springsteen was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and everyone's saying, "Oh, what a funny man! What a talent he is! What are you?" I said maybe you should win an Emmy for this, and he didn't win an Emmy. And I said he's not going to win an Emmy.
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen is Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
He's playing himself.
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen. I mean, he's no Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. No.
He's not going to play Othello or the Merchant of Venice or something.
Yeah.
So, but what was it about? Yeah, there was. I remember Johnny Cash was. There's a very famous episode of Columbo where he's the murderer, but he's a country singer. He plays basically Johnny Cash, and he gets to sing a couple of songs in front of Peter Falk, and then of course Peter Falk finds out that he's the murderer by the end of the show, and he was on the Johnny Carson show promoting it, and they showed a clip to it, and Johnny Carson with his smart mouth, he said. He said, "Hey, I understand you play a country singer in this show. You're a very versatile actor. You're playing a country singer." Of course, he had to lie. Yeah, Johnny Cash plays Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
I've never seen Fats Domino in anything
Yeah.
as an actor, but he I've seen him interviewed and stuff. And you like Fats Domino?
Yeah, I do. I have his record.
You have his record, yeah. I saw Fats Domino in New York, and he was. It was. I think I talked about this before with the same show at Jerry Lee Lewis, who never showed up. I think it's mainly about him, but he came out first, and Fats Domino is just so good. Fats Domino was the first rock and roll singer that I noticed was in my dad's record collection.
You make me cry when you say goodbye. Isn't that a shame? Tears feel like rain.
Ain't that a shame? Oh, the big hit for that song was Pat Boone. Pat Boone had a hit with that, which they played on the white radio. Even though there's nothing really controversial about Fats Domino.
Yeah.
He's a fat guy who liked to play the piano.
Yeah.
I saw Chubby Checker last year, and I heard that he took his name Chubby Checker as a derivation of Fats Chubby Domino Checker. So anyway, Fats Domino. So I look at my dad's record collection, and we're talking 45s, okay? And he had two records by Fats Domino. One was called "I'm in the Mood for Love," and the other song was which is actually an old song, and then the other song was "Blueberry Hill." I also think is old. I mean, they were old before Fats Domino made them even bigger hits. But so I said, "Hey, Dad, you're cool after all." Fats Domino song.
Yeah.
So then after that, I wanted to hear everything by Fats Domino. I was in I went to Preservation Hall in New Orleans, and the leader of the band I forget his name. His name might be here. But the leader of the band was Dave Bartholomew was his name. I just remembered it. And when he introduced himself and all the members of the Dixieland band, I said, "Dave Bartholomew, are you the same Dave Bartholomew from the Fats Domino band?" He goes, "Yeah." Next time, bring Fats Domino. I left him at home. I want to shine for a change.
Yeah.
Let's see, and so yeah, Fats Domino was great. Yeah, Fats Domino just recently died. He was, I think, over 90. Fats Domino was it became famous during Hurricane Katrina because he wouldn't leave his house. And then I think he finally did leave his house. A helicopter came when he was on top of his house and rescued him. And everyone
wow.
breathed a sigh of relief because they said, "Oh, we don't want anything bad to happen to Fats Domino."
Yeah.
So Fats Domino. There you go. Now I have some movies here. Um, I got this at a thrift store. It's really cool.
I love Alfred Hitchcock.
It's Alfred Hitchcock, and it was only $1, and I got 4 CDs, so it's a quarter of CD. Now I only got it like yesterday, but it has all these movies on it. There must be 20 movies on here, all from England. No, none of those ones.
Oh.
These are all like before 1939.
Oh wow.
This first American film is Rebecca, so it has all these other ones. They have Sabotage, Secret.
Rebecca.
Yeah, Rebecca's really good. Sabotage, Secret Agent, 39 Steps, Young and Innocent, Richard Strange, Number 17, The Manxman, The Man Who Knew Too Much, Blackmail. I mean, these are really old ones. These are like 1928, 29. Some of these are silent. Jamaican, Juno and the Paycock, The Lady Vanishes, of course. The Lodger was his first film, 1926. They're all on this. And I mean, I'm going to have hours of enjoyment watching these silent movies and movies from England. He came to England and he only made 2 movies in England after that. He went back to make Stage Fright with I think Marlena Deep. No, not Marlena. Was Marlena? Jane Wyman was in it. I remember. And Mrs. Reagan. And then the Frenzy, which is second to his last film. Alfred Hitchcock. If you I can't. I don't. You all know about Alfred Hitchcock, but there's a movie I mentioned, Anthony Hopkins, where Anthony Hopkins plays Alfred Hitchcock, which is pretty good, about the making of Psycho, and Scarlett Johansson plays Janet Leigh.
Oh yeah.
And who else is in it? Helen Mirren is in it. She plays Hitchcock's wife. Now Hitchcock and his wife were very kind of dowdy people. They were very kind of old-fashioned people, but Anthony Hopkins plays Hitchcock pretty well, but Helen Mirren is real glamorous as his wife, and he did not have a glamorous wife.
Yeah.
Because Helen Mirren happens to be a glamorous woman.
Yeah.
So if you see this, you can find this. I think you could even find this at a lot of thrift stores. You can find this collection. There's four movies here. See that? Okay. All with the master of saucepans. That's what who was somebody. Ed Sullivan introduced them once. And now the master of saucepans. I mean suspense. Alfred Hitchcock. Okay. Now, speaking of old timers, you ever heard of this movie Ragtime? It is such a good movie.
Oh yeah.
It was made in like 1979, and it stars James Cagney. It's James Cagney's last film. He was retired for 20 years before he made his last film. His last film, I think, was called 1, 2, 3. He had such a terrible time making it. I think he was 60 years old. He didn't make another movie till he was almost 80 years old, and he was coerced to make this film by I think his family wanted him to get out of the house and do something. When I was a kid, I would watch all these gangster movies with James Cagney in them, and you assume when you watch these old movies, is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? And
Yeah.
my dad said, no, he's not dead. Because why doesn't he make more movies? Why doesn't he still make movies? How come you never see him anymore? And so then in 1979, Milos Forman directed Ragtime, and this is the movie. And it was kind of exciting in 1979 because I was around in those days uh, to see a new movie at the movie theater on the marquee, James Cagney in Ragtime, you know. And you see this movie, and you even though he was an old man, he could barely. He does. I think a lot of his voice is post synchronized, post dubbed and stuff because a lot of it, he was an old man when he made it. But Milos Forman, as you know, Milos Forman, he recently died. He's a Holocaust survivor. He directed two movies that won Oscars. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he directed Amadeus. He had directed the musical Hair when it became a movie.
Oh yeah.
He directed the movie about Andy Kaufman with Jim Carrey.
Oh
He
yeah.
directed the movie about Larry Flint with Woody Harrelson. But his greatest achievement, this guy Milos Forman, was bringing the greatest movie star of all time back to make one last movie.
Wow. Yeah.
You know who that actor was, don't you? You dirty rat! You you killed my brother, James Cagney.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that I heard that when they made it's based on a famous book by E.L. Doctorow, great writer, and I've read almost everything E.L. Doctorow wrote. And E.L. Doctorow they wanted Jack Nicholson to play the part that James Cagney got. And I think once James Cagney came aboard, Jack Nicholson kind of backed off. But then you see somewhere in the movie, it's like Mandy Patinkin's first movie, and he has a good part in it. And he's directing a film, a silent film, that takes place in the turn of the century, turn of the 20th century, and there's a pirate movie. So, and if you look closely, one of the main pirate is wearing a wig and a blousy shirt and everything and a sword, and it's Jack Nicholson in a cameo, uncredited. But a lot of people say it isn't Jack, but I think Milos Forman says in the making of it that it was Jack.
Yeah.
It's the only time I think Jack has ever been an extra in a movie that after he became a big star.
Yeah.
But that's Ragtime. And listen, it's really a good film. It's also Pat O'Brien's last film. Pat O'Brien's it. Donald O'Connor has a part in it. A lot of timers are in it. It was the first film of a guy called Howard Rollins Jr., who you might remember from In the Heat of the Night.
Oh yeah.
And he had a very promising start.
He played Virgil Tibbs.
He played Virgil
Yeah.
Tibbs. He had a very promising start in this movie. I mean, this was a big film, and then he basically has a bigger part than James Cagney.
That's him
And
right there.
that's Howard Rollins there.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna get weird. There was a famous football player that said that if he would have gotten this part, he wanted to be an actor so bad. If he would have gotten this part, he would have retired from football, and that guy was O.J. Simpson. He didn't get the part. And if O.J. Simpson would have got the part, maybe all of O.J.'s troubles after that would not have happened.
He got in the Naked Gun.
You got a Naked Gun. That's right. You see him. Actually, a series. O.J. Yeah. And so that's Ragtime. Don't miss the movie Ragtime if you get a chance. All right. And let's see if I have anything else here. Oh, David Helfgott. You probably don't know. Most people don't know David Helfgott. Okay. No one's ever heard of him. This is a guy that made a movie about called Shine, and nobody really knows the story until the movie came out. And what happened was there was this kid in Australia, and his father was pushing him. His father was an emigre from Germany during World War II. Because they were a Jewish family, they had to leave Germany. But that's not in the movie. What happens is the old man is pushing his son to become this great pianist, and he's making him enter all these contests. And this kid is great. He gets a scholarship to England, and part of it to play at some prestigious music school in England, and and what happens is the kid is learning the hardest thing to play for pianists. It's actually on here. It's the maybe it's not on here. Actually, it's not on here. There's an album where I saw that it is on there. I think it's the Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto Number 2, and it's okay. Let me tell you about this concerto. The guy who wrote it has very long fingernails. He had Marfan syndrome, and he could play all these difficult things. Now, a person with regular sized hands are going to have a harder time playing it because this guy had huge hands. They can play it. He was like 6'5" or something. Now this is just a regular sized guy, but he pushed himself to learn it because his father was pushing him, and he actually had a mental breakdown and became a schizophrenic. And then he was in and out of mental hospitals in Australia. He was sent back to Australia, and he could play the piano, but he never really learned. He couldn't concentrate because he was mentally ill. And you would go to like a bar, or you would go to a talent show in a mental hospital, and he would be playing the piano.
Yeah.
And this was this great guy. So then, once his story became known, that this was, oh, whatever happened to that guy that went to England that had so much heralded success? So then, it caught the eye. They made a movie about him called Shine. Jeffrey Rush, basically his first movie, Jeffrey Rush won the Oscar for playing his part, and then this guy became popular again. He married a much older woman, and she kind of let and there's a problem with the movie Shine, is that at the end of the movie he plays in a concert hall with tuxedos and all these people clapping and everything, and you think, oh, he's finally cured. No, he's not cured. He's probably worse at the end of the movie than he was at any part of the movie.
Yeah.
But he actually, even the year that he was that the movie was nominated, he was at the Academy Award playing the Flight of the Bumblebee. That's only like 2 minutes long, so you couldn't mess up that. But sadly, he never learned how to play anything but what he learned before, which was a lot. He could still play the second Rachmaninoff concerto, which is a hard thing to play. But his name is David Helfgott. I don't suggest you look him up. You can look him up. You could find stuff on YouTube of him. But he's still a schizophrenic. You don't really get cured of that.
Yeah.
So, but they made, he got some vindication. They made a movie about his life, and it became a very heralded movie with Jeffrey Rush. And so that was the movie Shine. Yes. And so thanks for having me today, talking about all that's on my mind.
Yeah, I just want to thank you all for tuning in, and may God bless you.
This is the Mary Elizabeth Variety Hour, and my name is Kaye Lazar, and this is the lovely Mary Elizabeth.
God bless.